Lexi Kite, thanks so much for coming in and joining me today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
I know it's been a long time. And when I was thinking of this podcast, the inception of the podcast, I was like, I made a list of people that I wanted to have on. And you were like one of the very top people.
That is very kind.
And I'm not just saying that. I'm for real. So for all you listening and watching, this is Lexi Kite. She's a PhD from the University of Utah in body image, good friend of mine, and have been really watching her journey really since we graduated, and even beforehand. Was really interested in the subject of what you're studying in body image and media.
Yeah.
And also author of the book More Than a Body, and public speaker and mother, right? We carry all these titles now.
All the
wife, mother, like all the things, right? So
wild.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Happy to be here. This will be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to reconnect with you via a podcast people are going to watch and listen to.
I know, right? Unbelievable. Hopefully listen to and watch.
Yes.
But so let's jump right in. The work that you've done for the last 15 plus years, it seems like.
Yeah, a little more than 15 years.
I feel like it was pre its time.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. Nobody was talking about body image publicly, like on a public platform. Scholars were, you know?
Yeah.
But,
nobody was really like studying it and doing the things that you were doing back in 2006 and 2007. And I feel like Facebook really took off about 2006 and 2007.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So like social media I remember at Utah State, I got my first Facebook account, and that's when I met you.
MySpace.
We had MySpace, which I hate.
We were ranking our top 8.
I know, we were, man, it was, our audience is like, holy smokes, I remember that. So, I mean, you were studying that then. And I remember being in a journalism class, and you were like Miss Smarty Pants at Utah State. So like you came in and like we're teaching some of the, a section of the course that I was taking.
Stop.
And I gave you a hard time about it. And I was like, this is my friend up here teaching me some dropping knowledge, right?
I know, it's weird.
And I remember you talking about this study about, they did a study of people in the South Pacific.
Oh, yes. Foundational study. Remind me about that study and talk about that, because that to me was like, I was like blown away. I have not talked about this in so many years, but it's coming back to me. I maybe don't fact check, but I believe it was a woman named Dr. Ann Becker from Harvard, or one of the Ivies, who did research on media effects on people in Fiji before the advent of Western media broadcast to them.
Yeah.
So pre-receiving Western, I believe it was just like cable, like one cable channel or maybe a couple cable channels. She had done research on how, I think all people, but with a specific emphasis on girls and women, felt about their bodies. And then, she had like that foundational information. And then once media had really hit the island, she went back to look at the longitudinal effects of media usage and on Western media ideals, which we know all look the same, are very one-dimensional. For women and for girls, it is very tall, very thin, curves in all the right places, almost exclusively white. So people of color are not, represented positively. In 1998, when I believe she did the study, even more so. Just a wild amount of, you only see one way to be female. While men, of course, are objectified in certain ways, but in 1998 and still today, we get to see men represented in a much more wide variety of ways. They get to be short and thin and fat and tall and black and Asian and white and funny and not necessarily handsome. And they get to be represented positively and with like power and success and love, where women generally have to look one way. And she saw in this study that these Western media ideals that are so unattainable were just vicious to the girls and women of the island. They developed eating disorders at a rapid rate, and it completely changed the culture of that island.
Interesting. Which it completely would make sense, right? I remember as a youth, like a teen, where girls, I would say as young as 12 to 13, I remember this. We'd have reading time at middle school.
Yeah.
And there would be girls that would bust out like a Cosmopolitan or like an Elle magazine.
Oh,
I know,
yeah.
right? And like looking back at it as a dad, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? But as soon as those things get introduced, it just becomes the thing.
It's intoxicating.
It's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this channel was introduced in the South Pacific and like everybody was watching.
Yeah.
And so they're like, whatever it is that we watch, either we're conditioned to believe or we then have to make a decision. Is what I'm watching good and true, or is it false and bad, right? Or is it somewhere in the middle, right? And a lot of it, I would say most of it, is somewhere in the middle of that influence, and it's hard for people to navigate that, right?
Especially vulnerable people. Like for girls and women today, and even definitely when I was growing up, our mom's generation, our grandma's generation, little girls grow up being told that their primary objective is to be cute and to be pretty, and we do that by how we dress them. Femininity takes work, and so we pierce our little babies' ears and we put big bows on their heads, and they wear tights and dresses that they can't climb in. And over we talk to them about how they look. You're so cute. Oh my gosh, look at you. And little boys, they get to be messy. They get to be, rough and tumble. When you go to the kids sections at Target or at any store and you're shopping for my 3-year-old daughter versus your 3-year-old son, the little boys section has reinforced knees and pockets, and they get to have clothing that they can actually move and play in with space to move.
Yeah.
And the little girls, the shorts are always 3 to 4 inches shorter. They don't get pockets. They don't get reinforced knees and elbows.
Yeah.
They get scratchy glitter, that scratches them. Sorry, as I move my mic. Let me adjust that.
You're good. But it's true, though. I have a daughter and I have a son.
Yeah.
And I see, it's interesting, though, because let's talk about this side.
Mm-hmm.
There are different clothing for the boys and the girls in that section, right? And we've witnessed it.
Yeah.
And more robust knees and things, and the girls have more bows and
really
sparkles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I never once. I have a daughter, 6 years old. She's my first.
Yeah.
Never once was like, you need to wear this.
Yeah.
But she just loves.
Yeah.
She loves just dressing up and being a princess, and she walks around and she's a princess, and she loves to like sing and dance and like do all of the things. And like I'm coaching her soccer team right now.
I love it.
And I turned to my wife the other day. I'm like, I think she's more a ballet girl. Like, no joke.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
and there's nothing wrong with
there
that.
was totally nothing wrong with it because she enjoys it. Like she chose it. Now we ask ourselves, is she choosing that because that's her only option that she sees that she can choose?
Yeah.
Or if we expose them to other things like playing soccer as well.
Yeah, you want to give her options.
Give her the options, right?
Definitely.
So like, hey, Target, maybe give us more options for girls.
1,000,000%.
So that they can make that decision and feel like, I like ballet.
Yeah. And
because I'm choosing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Have all of those decisions positively reinforced. It's our generation, we're raising kids differently than we were raised. We are exposing them to more options and positively reinforcing whatever it is they want to do a lot of the time. And so there's nothing wrong with girls that like a lot, and boys that innately want to go toward things that would be considered like more feminine in that way. But I do believe we need to expand the notions of what gets to be feminine, because that box is very small and it's vilified so that boys that want to play with dolls and do anything that would be considered at all feminine, we get really freaked out. What does that say about them? Because femininity is villainized, and it's the opposite. Like, so my girls, I have 2 daughters, a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I have very purposefully raised them to be like pretty neutral.
Yeah.
So I throw their little blonde hair up in a bun every day. I say, let's get your hair out of your face. And so they get a messy bun on top of their head. We've never done bows. We've never done a lot of frilly stuff. But the one thing that I do want them to know is that we're going to prioritize like practicality and comfort over pretty.
Okay.
And that pretty can be a thing that they want to have and be. But more than anything, I want them to believe that their body is an instrument, not an ornament. Their body is theirs. It is an instrument for their use, for their experience. And so when we're trying on clothes and stuff, I say, okay, Logan, do some stretches in it. You know, like do some lunges. Is it comfy? Is it soft? Does it match? Okay, we're good to go.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because everything you just described, it just seems normal, right?
Yeah.
To me, because my wife, Marissa, who's absolutely amazing, she's introduced me to this lifestyle that I didn't have before. I mean, I've known her my whole life, but and I knew that she was into the Western lifestyle and loved horses and loved riding and all of those things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until we got engaged and married that I really got introduced to the Western lifestyle, which is, waking up early and feeding your horses and
Wow.
she trained horses for 10 years, traveled all across the country, and what you just described is a girl who prioritizes her comfort over what she looks like, but she's she's bad A.
Yeah.
She loves doing what she does. She just got her nails done, I think, last week, and she's like, I told the lady not so long because I work.
Me too.
I'm out there
those nails.
I'm out there doing baling the hay. I'm scooping up the manure. I'm working. I don't need all of this. I like to have my nails done, but I don't want them so long.
Yeah.
And my daughter's learning that. She's like, Mom, why don't you like the long nails? And she's like, for me, I don't like it because I'm doing all this. And remember, we're scooping, mucking manure and hay and stuff. And she's like, I get this stuff. So Presley, she wants to ride her pony every single day.
I love it.
She gets in her comfy jeans and she's doing her thing. And it's interesting though, because as a society, we have gone away from those values. We've gone away from the simple values of, I want to work outside. I want to get dirty. And because it requires me to get dirty because I'm out there working. So I don't want to be dressed up in something that's not functional.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this cowgirl, these cowgirls that are out there doing it. One of our really good friends, Wenda Johnson, she's a professional barrel racer, and her sister Wileen, they've been really good friends of ours for a long time, and they are that way. They dress, they love the frills and the pink and all that stuff, but they're out there and they're training wild horses, they're winning championships, they're going to the NFR, they're doing things.
I love it.
Right?
They're the embodiment of this mantra, this instrument, not ornament thing. I think
100%.
The thing to reinforce is that everybody gets to draw that line for themselves, what you choose to do in the name of looking good, men or women, whatever you choose to do, you get to make that choice and nobody's here to shame and blame you. But I do think it is so important to recognize that we're not making these choices in a vacuum, and that if you have a wife that is super self-conscious when you guys are going out and she doesn't know what to wear and she's feeling anxious and she's grumpy because she saw that picture of herself that is just making her so mad because that's not what she thinks she looks like, and she's so disappointed that she looks like this, these are things we all deal with.
Totally.
And I think it's so important to recognize that anxiety that comes up, those choices we make, are often fueled by shame. The shame of just wanting to be loved and feeling like you cannot be loved, successful, healthy, happy, unless you constantly think about your body as a project that needs to be fixed. And if you're not working on it, if you're not fixing it, you're not doing your job. And that is a message that girls and women hear from a million different places culturally, from institutions that love us, from people that love us, from media that does not love us and is profiting from our insecurities. And so I think really being able to embrace people we love and people we're seeing make choices that maybe we don't agree with, or we think they're doing too much, or, showing too much or whatever.
Right.
Really coming back to them with this place of compassion that they're more than a body. I am more than a body. They get to make choices for themselves, navigating this incredibly difficult, objectifying world that teaches them that's all they are. And I get to navigate this world and make these choices for myself. And maybe they're going to look different, but we can all be okay here. And I can help them learn to see themselves as more,
I love it. And it's so true, because in today's world, we have so many things to look at
Yeah.
and to entertain us, right? And it's almost like body image has been a form of entertainment for the masses on Instagram, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's people that are legit getting Insta famous
Oh, from their
off
bodies.
their body. Totally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything about this person, and I look at their Instagram thing, and it's got like all these pictures of them and like, you know, showing off their body,
Yeah.
and they're just getting famous off of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. How does a person with your kind of education reconcile like that? Is that seen as like go you, like you're empower, you know, that's an empowering thing, or is it more like what are we really teaching our society?
Yeah.
What are we teaching our future? Because if we're not bettering, not improving our society we live in today,
Yeah.
it's there's a detriment happening, right?
Yeah.
So how do we
Social media-
reconcile that?
Social media is so tricky because, like, historically speaking, women have been given less of a voice. Like, politically, we have less female leaders. CEOs, Fortune 500, we have less female leaders, you know? We don't get to see a lot of women in power. We're seeing more, but still, women are the minority in power. And so one way that women have been able to gain power is through their bodies.
Hmm.
And that is because men consume that on social media. And so they can make money. And the algorithm on social media is designed to boost the engagement of bodies that fit that one-dimensional form. The tall, thin, curves in all the right places, white, ideally beautiful in the face. The algorithm feeds that content to women to feel. We go through this shame spiral of seeing what we're not and comparing ourselves, and we go down deep. And heterosexual men are viewing that same content for a different reason.
Yeah. And it's the crazy thing is it's counterfeit. It's counterfeit.
Yeah.
Because I understood what you said. Women have not been represented as well or as much as men through history, and so they want to feel that power, right?
Yeah.
So when they try and feel that power, and they know that they have this tool that they're giving themselves license to be able to then take power.
Yeah.
But it's counterfeit power.
And it's fleeting. It is power that is handed to you. It is not internal to you. It is power that is given to you by people who deem you worthy, attractive, whatever the thing might be.
Of pleasure.
What happens when you gain weight? What happens when you get sick?
Yeah.
What happens when you have a kid that needs you too much and you can't produce the content you were going to make, whatever. Like,
totally.
It is a form of power, but it can be all-consuming and really painful.
Totally. I mean, I'm even going down into a specific example of this very thing. The NCAA just recently, over the last 2 years, changed their rules.
Yeah.
To be able to allow an athlete to be able to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. Okay. Out of the top 10, I don't know the statistic exactly, but I want to say, and I'm pretty confident in, that the top 10 NIL athletes are women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why?
The beautiful ones.
The beautiful ones.
Yeah.
And the ones that are taking power through showing their bodies are the ones that are the most quote unquote successful NIL athletes. And one in particular just represented a brand I really love. And so I'm like, okay, I think there's a gray area here where this person has really, on their Instagram feed, it's just all about their body.
Yeah.
But then now they're representing Vuori, which is like a new up and coming like brand, and it's beachy and it's vibey and it's cool, right?
Yeah.
So like, power to you, but I would say careful with what you're trying to say is powerful.
I would flip that a bit.
Okay.
Look at the fact that of all of the incredible female athletes in the world,
Yeah.
Only the ones who are both incredible at their skill, at their sport, and ideally beautiful get to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
You don't even know the names of the ones that are not beautiful. Most of us don't even know them.
Totally.
And so to put the blame on the most beautiful women who you could say they're capitalizing on their bodies and their beauty. You could also say that other people are capitalizing on their body and beauty. Part of me says more power to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard one, right? I would say, yeah, definitely more power to you, because at this point, it's like you're being represented as an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's a line you can cross.
I know. Yeah.
Where it's like, as soon as you cross that line and you do that, it's your choice. You're taking some power and exchanging it for another.
Yeah. And it's a corrupt system. Like, it's a system where the male athletes, they're showing their bodies too. Like,
Totally.
I'm seeing it all, and don't ever condemn them, because that just seems normal. Like, yeah, it's a dude's body, but women's bodies are they're sexy. They represent so much more. And so I think it gets complicated. But I do want to say, like, in all of our work, our work in body image is helping girls and women see themselves as more than bodies.
Yeah.
So any media that is perpetuating that girls and women are only bodies and that you must look a certain way in order to be valuable and loved, it's in a whole sense, it is not helping anyone.
Yeah.
So for individuals, I'm never going to shame or blame any woman for what she does with her body, what she does to make money. Absolutely not. But what I want to see is media representing and giving us more examples of what it means to be happy, to be beautiful, to be successful, to be loved.
100% agree with that. And really that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Before we even jumped on and started recording, it was like we were talking about what we really just all need, and we all realize is we need clothing, food, shelter, and love. Like
the basics.
The basic things, and most people in this world fit right there. That's what we need. And when we have those needs met, like all those differences, they really, at the end of the day, they don't matter as much as we think they do. Yeah, because there's people profiting off of our ability to disagree, which is so weird. It's right now
so sad and so hard to be on social media because of it.
It is. And like there's certain platforms that we are familiar with that, like, people's most ugly self show up there, right? And it's easy for even the nicest person's ugly self to show up there. I've been there too. Like, come election time, there's people posting. I'm one of those probably that have done that before, and like your ugly self shows up.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's but at the same time, it's okay to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And still be a beautiful character.
Totally. Like I'm pretty positive we're on opposite sides of the political spectrum.
I'm sure we are.
And I respect you and I value you, and being able to sit with you and like talk as humans that have like a background. We knew each other.
Oh yeah.
We have families. We care about these same basic things. Like that is so beautiful. And yet social media becomes this place where we all sit behind a screen and kind of objectify people. We don't see them as fully human, And
there's no growth that happens if people like us who have been friends for a long time can't challenge each other's thought processes.
Yeah.
Because we become our own cheerleaders and think that what we know is the best
and the only
and
way.
How dare you? Right.
We have very different lives.
Completely. And it's like so there's so much there that media also profits off of, not just bodies, but disagreeing, right? I mean, there's whole show segments on that.
Totally.
Crazy. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, kind of back up the inception of Beauty Redefined. And you're a twin. I'm sure the people who follow you know that, but
your people don't know that.
My people probably may not know that. And the coolest thing about, I don't know if it's the coolest, but a really cool thing about what you've done is that your twin sister, has been like along alongside you.
We've done
You
it.
guys have been shoulder to shoulder the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Lindsay, I've known Lindsay just as long as I've known you, and
Yeah.
not as well, but I just talk to me about that. How did you guys feel like this is something that you wanted to take on, not just as study, but as a career, and then do it together?
I don't know. I don't think I've said this before, but I don't think it would have happened if I wasn't a twin and if Lindsay wasn't a twin. I think, growing up, we were super competitive. We are identical. We have the exact same skill set, the same interests, the same friends, everything, literally. Yeah. Yeah. And so growing up, we were so competitive and so compared to each other, constantly compared. Oh, you're a half inch taller. You have a freckle here. Your teeth are more crooked. Your face is rounder. Just constantly. There's always a loser,
Oh,
And so we were constantly
especially when you say we're identical twins. They're like, wait,
okay, let me tell the difference.
your eyebrows higher than that
Yes.
one or whatever.
Oh, we were just constantly scrutinized. And so we grew up with, I think, maybe a heightened awareness of how we appeared, because not only were people looking me up and down constantly, but I was looking at Lindsay, seeing somebody that I was being told looked exactly like me. And so I could see in Lindsay what I looked like. And sometimes that made me self-conscious. That's not how I wanted to look, And so growing up, we were so compared and so competitive and got really fixated on how we appeared. We were not alone in that. All of our friends, regardless of how thin they were, how beautiful they were, how rich or poor they were, all of our friends were also growing up in a world where they were thinking a lot about how they looked and feeling really self-conscious, whether they ever said it out loud. One of my best friends knows her weight at any given day growing up. She could tell you how much she weighed on any given day based on the picture she was looking at of herself. Other friends had Victoria's Secret models plastered on the back of their door in 5th grade as motivation to not eat because she thought she was fat. She was nowhere near fat. We all grew up. I started dieting in 7th grade, and so did Lindsay, encouraged by our culture that told us that thinner is better. And as I was growing up, I was becoming thicker than I think anybody thought I should be or planned on being.
Mm.
I was just heavier. I was also a competitive athlete and in great physical shape, but I weighed more than I think people thought I should.
Yeah.
And so I got this pressure very early on. And so Lindsay and I always thought I was the problem. That what am I doing wrong? What am I not eating? How am I eating too much? Am I not moving enough? Like, why do I look like this? Why am I not beautiful and thin enough? And Lindsay and I always blamed ourselves for that. And when we got to
Did you guys talk about it with each other?
Oh, we had exercise competitions to see who could exercise the most in a week. We were betting against each other. We were comparing how much we weighed and like holding it against each other.
Okay.
A half-pound weight difference in 5th grade, I'll never forget.
Wow.
Like, it was intense, and yet it was not abnormal. I think any of your viewers and listeners, if they were to ask the people in their lives, especially the women, to tell them about how they felt about their body when they were in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, college, they could tell you in great detail for hours and hours their experiences in their body, how they felt about their body throughout all that time. And for the most part, a ton of it is not positive. Even for the ideally beautiful girls who feel like, yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Those are girls that got attention for their bodies and had to have it reinforced through compliments, or they didn't feel good enough. If they weren't getting the attention they thought they would, the validation on, whatever platform it might have been, then they're like, I got to work harder. I got to try harder because this is what people value me for. My body, my beauty, this is who I am. And so that reinforcement of our looks is never happy. And all of this to say that our freshman year of college, Lindsay and I, we were trying to be different. We were trying to take different paths. But we were both writers and wanted to go into journalism.
Yeah.
And so we tried to just take different sections of the same classes that we were together. This is our chance to be different. We didn't live together. We tried so hard.
I remember that.
Oh my, yeah, you did. We didn't talk for a year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I remember my freshman year, we did live together in the dorms that year. We learned our mistake later on. But I walked into a journalism class for required journalism majors on media literacy, like the ability to really read and understand why media is engineered the way it is and how it impacts people. On the very first day in class, my wonderful professor was explaining the gender, the race, the violence, the stuff we were going to be talking about. And she spoke briefly about how women are really negatively impacted by these ideals that are really profit-driven. And the economy is built, like there is a whole economy built on making sure that girls and women are constantly finding new flaws and the solutions to those flaws. And I sat there and my heart pounded faster. It felt like a spiritual experience. And I thought, I've been impacted by this. Like maybe my feelings about myself weren't innate. Maybe they came from another source, and they did. Wow. I went home to my dorm and I told Lindsay about this class, and she said, shut up. I had the exact same experience.
No way.
That was just like...
You're like, all right, why are we going to try and separate?
Yeah,
Let's do this together.
We couldn't. And so we then spent 10 years of college together, kind of fueling ourselves and like being reinforced by doing well in school and learning new things. And what we conceived of is not just this foundational knowledge of how media and our cultural ideals impact girls and women and all of society and how they feel about themselves, but more so how to be able to shine a light on that pain, name it, call it what it is.
Yeah.
Growing up in an objectified world teaches you to do this thing called self-objectify. You picture yourself living instead of just living. You think, I'm sitting here right now on camera. If I'm not immersed in the conversation, I'm thinking, how does he think I look right now? Like, am I getting really greasy? Like, I need to adjust. Most people live thinking about themselves on camera throughout the day. Most women and girls, they are constantly, a portion of their mental capacity is caught thinking, how do I look? Is this lighting doing me any favors?
Yeah.
I shouldn't eat that. Like, now I have to punish myself because I ate that. Are constantly thinking about how they appear. And so our work helps people, all people, shine a light on that pain that they've learned to swallow as just a normal part. It's just the rent you pay to live in this body. Yeah. And instead use that pain to stand on, to have a platform that can help you do good things,
right,
that can help you be more compassionate and open-minded to people experiencing hardship, and help you come back home to your body instead of constantly punish yourself into oblivion. You cannot help the world. You cannot help yourself. You cannot contribute good to a world where you are constantly thinking about how you appear in that world. And we have so much more good to do.
Right. Excuse me. Wow. That you took us on that journey, and just, I mean, it's so true though. And I wonder how many girls, that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's happening now. Yeah.
At 1,000,000%. Yeah.
At higher rates than ever before. And going back to, you know, now we're here, you've done a lot of work in this space, more than a body, right? You've had multiple speaking tours, and even like been on other shows speaking about that. And with the Instagram phase we're in right now, with the influencers, we have influencer moms. I feel like we're in the influencer mom hub of the world.
Oh, we are.
And like, I'm going to say it, I'll think a lot of it is cringe.
Yeah.
Like, really? You know, I'm just like, what are we doing? We're teaching our daughters. What are we doing?
And have they consented to this?
And like, that's the only thing I can think of is what are we doing, and how did we get here?
Yeah.
You know? And so my audience is, I would say, primarily men, but there's going to be a lot of women that I think tune into this particular show, specifically because we've tackled a lot of really good topics, and not only just body image, but there's men that are like me, that we have a daughter. You know, I'm married. I love my wife.
Yeah.
My wife just so happens to be amazingly talented, and she's super strong, and like she's got freaky strength. Like, I'm talking like, hey babe, help me pick up this thing, right? We're moving for the horses. It was a big trough. Like, okay. And like, she's like, got this. And I'm like, hey, this is heavy, you know, but she's like, I don't know, $125 soaking wet, right? You know, but like, she's also beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'll tell her till the day I'm 75, 85 years old, like, you're smoking hot.
You should.
You know?
Totally.
And how do we as men, from your perspective, keep a healthy balance of telling our women that they're beautiful, because they are?
Yeah.
And then also helping them realize that we see their value in who they are.
Yeah.
And not what they look like.
I love that. I think that men can be incredible allies in helping us heal our own relationships with our bodies. I know my husband has done that. I've been married for 10 years now, and I remember just feeling so unlovable. Like my whole growing up years, from 13 to when I got married at 27, I just felt like I wasn't good enough. Like no man could truly love me because I wasn't hot enough, because I had grown up believing that I could not be loved the way I was. I knew I couldn't. And not all women grow up feeling that way. I think way, way, way too many girls and women grow up feeling that way. And I had gone through a whole PhD in body image. I had healed so many parts of myself. But I think that my wonderful husband did this thing that I think lots of husbands can do. And that is that he not only, affirmed me, like told me that I'm beautiful and affirmed me in all the ways I need, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
But in all of his other actions, I could see that he not only valued me as a full and equal human, but he valued all the other women in his life. And even the women mediated to him, celebrities, who he followed on social media, he valued them the same way. We see how men view other women. I see the way men either look up and down and spend too long looking. I see who they're following. I see what they're commenting on. I'm looking at those things from the men in my life that I care about. We all are. And for me to never have to question that the media he consumes is not objectifying stuff that would make me feel sick to my stomach. Like, to know that he is just willing to value women that he works with as full and equal partners, to listen to women, for our daughters, to see him raise our daughters, to prioritize who they are and to prioritize them learning about trailblazing women.
Yeah.
And all that stuff adds up to this beautiful relationship that is based on love and also like a really great romantic life. Like, it all comes together so beautifully when you can see somebody as more than a body. And I can see that he does that.
Yeah.
So I would say that if men can pay attention to who you're following on social media, pay attention to how you comment on women in your life and women celebrities, pay attention to how you talk about people, how you talk about bodies, including your own. If you're constantly talking about that, you shouldn't eat that. Oh, you need to start lifting again. My body's changed so much. I'm losing my hair. Whatever it is you're talking about, if you're talking about your body negatively, the people in your life now have a good excuse to look back at themselves and think, if he's talking about himself like that, what does he think about me?
Right.
And I think that being able to see yourself as more than a body, healing the parts of yourself that need work, and then being able to heal the parts of yourself that have learned to see and view other people as first bodies and then people, when we can heal that and see each other as more, that builds this common humanity, compassion, that allows us to exist and love each other regardless of whether we share the same belief system, regardless of the things we have in common. It allows us to be more human.
What you described just reminds me of my grandparents, my grandpa. It's like he was a gentleman. He didn't have to deal with the stuff we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, but he had his own stuff.
He had his own stuff, no doubt.
Yeah.
But be a gentleman. Be a gentleman and be respectful, be honest, have integrity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think we can take from this is, how are we going to view the people outside of when we feel like no one's looking at us? Who are we and what are we doing?
Totally.
Who are we and what are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we a facade when we're with the people we care about? And if the answer is sometimes, then let's be real and let's work on ourselves.
Totally.
And let's be
therapy.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable, being able to,
Totally.
Therapy is thankfully less stigmatized than it ever was before.
No doubt.
Especially for men. Like, men are learning through their partners, through themselves, through like platforms like this, to be able to open up, to be more real and honest, to shine the lights on the parts of themselves that they have learned to believe are bad and wrong, to shine a light on the coping mechanisms that we all use because we're trying to cope with shame, we're trying to cope with pain. What are the things we do that are not serving us, that are causing us to exist outside of who we really are?
Right. I mean, I've never been one to feel like I needed therapy.
Yeah.
until I needed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and my wonderful wife was like, I think you need help.
I love it.
You need help. Let's figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And I started going to therapy this year.
I'm so glad.
You know, and it was like, and this podcast was like, I always wanted to do this at some point in my life. And I'm like, I'm tired of at some point. I'm doing it.
Do it.
And it's work. It's tough and, you know, life gets the way it is. But at the end of the day, if we're not working on ourselves to become better men, better women, better wives, better husbands, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Where are we spending our time? Are we losing ourselves by being entertained by images?
So easy to do.
Are we losing ourselves by looking at the people we care about or don't really know by their image, by their bodies, so that we can have a quick moment of fleeting pleasure?
Yeah.
Or do we really care about that person sitting across from us who may not have the same ideals as us, or who may, you know, have some different views than us? Who cares?
Yeah.
Let's bridge the differences and come together, because I feel like this world needs more of that right now.
Amen.
So I think we've wrapped it up here, and I just want to tell you, you're awesome. You're amazing.
You too.
You're super kind, and it was awesome to talk to you. And I've always looked up to you and Lindsay for the work that you've done. I have since the get-go.
So nice.
And I'm stoked for whatever else you guys have in store. But I also love seeing the Lexi Kite, the mother of the two daughters. What are your daughters?
Green and Logan.
Oh my goodness. And I remember like just seeing these pictures of you guys and how happy your family is. And I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you.
Lexi, you've been just a light, and continue to do what you do. And appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.